Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ahnenerbe Hour, starring the Paranormies. I'm Johnny Monoxide. Tonight we have Hazzard, McRee, Adam, Haidt, Greyfield Stray, and Bradshaw. What's happening, guys?
Woo, hey, how's it going?
How's everybody doing?
Doing good. Before we get into it, let's shill once again. We now have a Twitter at @the_Paranormies. And as always, we can be reached at paranormiespresent@gmail.com if you're worried about 140 character limit.
Right on.
All right. We're shilling right now.
We're shilling.
Yeah.
Brad, you got something you want to shill?
Please allow me to shill for a little while.
Go ahead.
Shill away.
I've launched a YouTube channel. There's been a setback. My laptop died, so there's not a lot of content on it right now, but I'm working on a more permanent solution than this
more final solution.
I'm using.
Is it going to be a final solution?
A final solution to the creepy question.
Are we gonna contact the ghost of your dead laptop this episode?
Yeah, we're gonna hold a little seance. We're gonna try and contact the laptop, get the game back so I can finish it.
Oh,
Start talking.
the game. Don't bring up the game. You know what happens if you say the game?
What, you lose it?
Yep. It's gone, and it's gone.
Oh,
Johnny, it's been months.
is
Thank
this
you,
a
asshole.
So
you keep lobbing those softballs. I'll hit them out of the park.
right, I got to give you the easy ones.
But yeah, I'm going to be reading like my own creepypastas that I write on there. I'm also going to try and do some informational videos about different paranormal subjects, various cryptids and famous ghosts, famous paranormal people, maybe even serial killers. Cover stuff along those lines.
Nice.
But I'm gonna be trying to write everything myself. But if I see like a really good story, I might read it.
Nice.
Yeah, why create
And what
content
is
when
your
you can
channel
aggregate
called?
it,
One
right?
more time.
Yeah.
What's your channel, Brad?
What is the channel name?
The channel name is Bradshaw's Creepy Compendium.
Bradshaw's Creepy Compendium. Awesome.
Rolls off the tongue nicely.
It does.
It's the alliteration right there that pulls
Like a fine clitoris.
Whoa! Hey.
Oh, it's a family
This
show.
is
Brad.
a
It's
this is a
family show.
G-rated podcast.
I was about to say, we've lost all our homosexual listeners at that point, and that's 75%.
So we've lost all our listeners.
You got to remember, this is the family-friendly first hour.
We get into the members hour.
We're pre-watershed, so we got to keep it.
Right. Somebody's going to hear that shit and be like, members hour.
No, it's okay, because what we do is we just put an overlay of a scientific diagram of a vagina, and then it's educational. So we're okay.
All right.
Good.
So Bradshaw's Creepy Compendium.
Yeah, Bradshaw's Creepy
All right. Well, that will certainly be in the description for our listeners to go check out.
Yeah. And as usual, you can catch.
Now you have up the creepypasta you read for us about the red-headed hitchhiker, right?
Yes, I do, and I also have a nursery rhyme about Lizzie Borden. The really famous one.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that creepypasta you did for us was a fan favorite. People loved it, man.
I'm glad. I put a lot of effort into it.
You notice
At,
Hazzard
1 in
said
the morning
a
when
fan
I had to finish
favorite.
the end of it.
There was a fan that liked it. Get it? Never mind.
All right, I think we've viewed our audience enough. Should we get
We
on
have.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
with it?
So, what do we got going on tonight, guys? What do we got? We got some
Okay, so
spooky
today's
stories
subject
tonight.
is ghosts, death, and what happens next, really.
Nice.
The Ghost Hunting Society recognizes 5 different types of ghosts in general. You have the
Wait.
aura.
What is a ghost?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with what is a ghost. Yeah, let's go.
And which of the ghosts makes me wake up covered in ectoplasm?
That's not a ghost. That you do. No, we'll talk about this later
A
offline.
sexy ghost.
I think we need to have a
Wait,
talk with
fuck, I
Hazzard.
think that's succubi, not ghosts. Never mind, carry on.
Yes. See, we did this already. And by the way, thank you
Succubi,
to
that was
whatever
really left
whatever one of our fans. I can't remember who did it, but they did pull up. I mentioned, "Have you ever seen an ugly succubi?" And they found an ugly picture of one. Thanks, appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not looking at it. I want
Yeah,
to keep
don't.
my memories, well,
Exactly.
not pure, but untainted.
Yeah. While not chaste. Yes.
Who'd have thought that everything isn't anime,
It's bullshit.
It's
I
bullshit.
know, right?
All right. So back to the definition of ghost.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at ugly succubuses now.
Yeah.
Succubi.
Anyway, ghost. What is a
Yeah.
ghost?
Well, a ghost is generally defined as a presence or how to put it? Basically any disembodied presence that may or may not be the representation of a person who has died.
So it's like someone's personality that's left over when their mortal coil has failed them?
Sort of. This is what I was going to get into. Like I say, the officially recognized ghost types are the aura, which is supposedly like a disembodied vibe. So you say you go into a room and suddenly you feel like a sharp chill, like the room doesn't want you to be there. So like that would be a recognized aura. There's the auditory, which is basically voice phenomena. You've got the orb, which I think is the most famous one. They tend to show up in photos. They're like, well, balls. No jokes, please. The apparition, which is the solid manifestation of a person or creature. And the poltergeist, which is basically ghostly phenomena involving the movement and general displacement of objects.
So it sounds like there's a gradient of physical interaction where it goes to just a weird feeling to actually like rearranging your furniture.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the site. I remember a few years ago I lived in a place called Weedon, which is in Northamptonshire. And we lived in a place called the Bakehouse, which is literally what it sounds like. It's an old Victorian bakehouse. But out the front where the driveway was, it used to be a site for hanging.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it was literally where they execute criminals. Basically, the whole time we was there, it was pretty awful. There was just this whole hanging feeling of dread and sort of mistrust, and it actually ended up in my girlfriend at the time's parents actually getting divorced.
Oh wow!
And both of them to this day blame the house.
They blame the house?
They do. They said basically it was such an oppressive atmosphere. They just never felt comfortable or happy, and obviously they took it out on each other.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Haunted houses are real.
Well, where in the future state, where do ghosts play into no-fault divorce?
It's a good point. It's a good point.
I don't know, dude.
I don't think they contested the ghost had anything to do with it over the paperwork. I think that would have still them both committed.
Yes, Your Honor. It was the ghost's fault.
But yeah, I've spoken to both parents, and they both blame the house. And
do you have any interesting stories from that particular haunted house?
The only one I can remember off the top of my head, I wasn't there long because I basically had just lost my flat at the time, and ended up living with this lass. I wasn't there long, I was only for a couple of months. But one of the weirdest ones was their dog Bryn. He was this like little lurcher greyhound cross sort of dealie. What he used to do, he would just randomly start growling at corners of the room. That was the only one that really set me off. And there were times where he just wouldn't enter a room, or he refused to come inside. It was. You sort of tell me. I don't know how sort of much you guys sort of take the senses of an animal to heart, but I've got to be honest with you.
Dogs and animals. There's always that whole like they can predict storms and earthquakes and whatever.
Earthquakes, yeah. Up like well in advance. Their senses are pretty finely tuned. They know what's going on.
Right.
They're more in touch with the spirit.
Somebody being attacked by a ghostly bag of Fritos?
No, paper bag.
Paper bag, gotcha. You're not supposed to huff the paint. You're not supposed to huff the paint during the show.
God damn it, I'm not.
I'm sorry. That's mean because we have.
I got hit by a ghost. I got attacked by a ghost earlier. It made my mouth fedora slip out of my hand and the glass shattered, and I'm looking for my spare one.
No.
All because of a ghost.
Ghosts are always after your mouth fedora.
Yes. I mean, it just makes me so euphoric. They must disrupt the euphoria.
Well,
they can hide amongst the vapors, in plain sight.
I have a theory. I have a theory regarding ghosts. I don't think they're sentient. What I think they are is an echo of the personality.
Oh.
So it's like a physical photograph that we leave behind. If we feel strongly about a place or something in a particular area, or we leave something there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a really unpopular theory because, like, it's a pretty common one. A lot of people think that like we have our own energy, and the energy we leave behind just from our own existence and our death, like that energy creates that echo.
Well, not just that. I mean, could that
Creates
not
an
also
echo,
mean
huh?
that you can have more than one echo in one place?
Yes, actually, there's
Not
a
only
lot of
that, but you could have the same person leaving an echo in more than one place.
Right. So that's exactly positive. You could have like 6 million echoes in one place.
Now, I don't believe that. That sounds far-fetched to me.
It's a lot of echoes in one place. I mean, I'd say 250,000, maybe
a lot
285,000.
less than 6.
There are some people who would believe that you could have like 3.1 million echoes in one place, but then he
I feel like they changed that number.
the 5.1. That's the one. The 5.1. That's the 5.1. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're gonna neg somebody, get the numbers correct, John. God damn it. But so you're saying so that like ghosts are actually not sentient?
They're not a physical, or sorry, they're not a metaphysical manifestation of us. They're something we leave behind. I know a lot of the popular image of ghosts is basically, it gets up, it walks around, it's an apparition. It actively targets, and especially in the case of poltergeist, a lot of people suggest that people are being targeted. No,
Right.
What it is the person that died was a dick in real life.
So maybe you're saying it's more like the ghost of the scary carnival ride where it's just kind of pacing back and forth and it's like memorized pattern that it was programmed.
Essentially, I think it's like it's the ghost of that person's anger. I mean, obviously, I'm using the poltergeist here as
or sadness or whatever
example.
type of ghost.
Yeah,
it
or
is.
sadness. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Or
I
even
actually
joy,
don't. I don't
I've
like
heard
that theory.
people
I like
said that. They've gone into places where loved ones have died and felt overwhelming senses of comfort. I nearly said comfort there. Fucking hell.
What is it with you and Vag on the mind today, Gray?
Whoa!
I recently
we are
got a
still
3D
in the family
TV
hour,
and
boys.
It's taking over.
Oh God, what about the monster girls, Gray? Have you betrayed us?
I'm afraid it's too late.
Guys.
Zoinks!
Don't. Yeah.
So we have to get into some experiments then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ghost
We have to
experiment.
turn your 3D into a monster girl.
I'm pretty.
Let's.
Sure
How about we turn your 3D into a
Good
monster?
enough
Oh, not
ammo.
talking to me. Okay.
So,
Good thing we have a side.
do you think? So you think ghosts are geographically bound?
I think again, using my theory of echo, I think that part of them is geographically bound.
Do you think physical object, like, could you have a cursed or a haunted item?
Yes, I do believe so. I believe that if someone is attached to a particular physical object, I think they can manifest themselves in that one item. There have been obvious stories of like haunted pawn shops and bars and
Whoa.
stuff like that.
Kind of porn shop where you
Porn,
just
as
kind of
in
open the door and it's all
secondhand
like.
goods.
Oh, okay.
What kind of
I'm
porn would
Ricky
you like?
Harris. I've owned this pawn shop for 21 years, and you never know what's gonna float through that door.
In the background, it's all. What was that back there? I have no idea.
That's a weird sounding ghost.
It's a really weird sounding ghost.
Adam, you mentioned like haunted objects. Have you ever heard of the theory that there is such thing as like a cursed or a haunted bloodline?
No.
No?
Go on.
Well, supposedly that a ghost can like, or a curse, whatever you spirits. We'll just use the phrase spirits can haunt like the sons of fathers that were cursed initially, and that spirit will continue throughout the bloodline.
I've heard such tales. In fact, I think I remember someone mentioned the Kennedys.
Oh, the Kennedys
Consider the fact
definitely
that
seem
so
to
many
be
of them
cursed.
died under tragic circumstances.
Yeah.
One of the theories was that their family and bloodline was cursed.
Hold on a second.
Especially
Wasn't the last
medical
Kennedy?
problems and suffering that JFK went through?
Well, JFK died and Bobby Kennedy
Sadly, could
died.
you explain?
Oh, he had like Addison's disease, I think.
What's that exactly?
It was really serious. He had like a a brace, like a back brace, not just a small one, like a really elaborate one, and he kept it secret for a while. I think it's called. I'm gonna feel like it's.
Oh, was that like scoliosis, that sort of thing?
It's an endocrine disorder.
Okay.
Apparently also had hypothyroidism, which Hillary Clinton has hypothyroidism.
Yeah, seems that she has very, very badly has hypothyroidism. Speaking of Hillary Clinton and the Kennedys, by the way,
glasses syndrome.
Yeah, was that some ectoplasm?
Hey guys, speaking of the Kennedys,
she was keeping Bill happy.
Oh no, she doesn't do that.
We all know better than that. Okay, so speaking of the Kennedys and Hillary,
Marsh going, it's a spooky ghost right there.
God damn it, you guys!
I think Johnny's trying to get in.
Sorry.
You do realize that Hillary took office in New York because JFK Jr. died in a plane crash.
Really? Oh God.
Considering the recent state of people dying.
Twice.
Well, I mean, you know, Hillary's like Hillary being around weird stuff happening, and JFK, and it's just kind of. It just seems kind of weird to me.
I was about to say, let's get off of Hillary before we all get really depressed and shoot ourselves twice in the back of the head.
The back of the head, right? Yeah.
But
good luck. No guns in my country.
One comment on the
Greyfield is found with 3 plastic knives in the back of his neck.
Spoons.
One thing before we switch off the subject, this is for the spirit haunting the Kennedy bloodline. Why didn't you kill Ted? You got the ones that were all right. You
right?
missed the...
Of all the Kennedys to not get. There once was a senator from Mass who went out in search of some ass. He lucked up and found it, then fucked up and drowned it, and that was the end of his ass.
Oh, God.
I like it.
Jesus.
What?
I've never heard that one.
You've never heard that one?
I know the stories of him killing a hooker.
Yeah. It's right up there with Laura Bush killed a guy. Well, you guys didn't know Laura Bush killed a guy?
The what?
I was letting you guys talk. Okay. But yeah, going back to the idea of cursed objects and cursed bloodlines. But yeah, there have been cases where bars and shops have been haunted and items have been removed and it's ceased. So yeah, I genuinely believe that you can literally, if you truly are attached to one thing, you will end up haunting it, which means we're going to see a lot of haunted games consoles in the future.
I mean, yeah, well.
I don't know where to go with horny game consoles other than VR is real.
Yeah, I was going to say. God.
Oh, dude, that reminds me of
to grow waifu soon, fellow whites.
No, I have to thumb through my book right here. That reminds me of a story that I read in the New England Ghost Files, an authentic compendium of frightening phantoms, by Charles Turek Robinson. It's I was reading about it. It's a guy in New England who, back in the 90s, he believes a ghost infected his computer.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah, I need to find it. Sorry.
Ghost computer. I think that would be interesting to see how ghosts have adapted to more complex and advanced electronics.
It's interesting to think, because if you consider ghosts to be energy, energy and electricity, it could be compatible somewhere along the line.
Mm-hmm.
This also goes against your personal theory about them not being sentient, because how could it, say, infiltrate like a computer if it didn't have self-awareness?
Right.
It could be the ghost of a nerd.
Yeah, it could be a nerd's ghost who's like shitposting on BBS forums or whatever.
Mm-hmm. On what forums?
Bulletin board system. I believe.
BBS forums. Okay. Just yeah. For some reason, I thought it was something darker than that, but
no, that's BBW forums. That's a whole different.
I didn't say that. So, yeah, back to ghosts. All right, so we've got ghosts in computers, we've got ghosts in places, ghosts in bloodlines, ghosts in houses, ghosts in.
So, if ghosts aren't always someone's personality, then
Right.
what happens to us, afterlife.
It's interesting. I don't know. I think the soul itself. I mean, it depends if you believe in the concept of the soul or not, really.
Yeah. Maybe we should just go around and everybody can talk about what they personally
They think
believe
happens
or
when you die?
whatever. So you think? So do you believe in a soul?
I do, yeah. I or at least I want to. Mostly because the people in my life who have passed away are some of the most sort of amazing, beautiful people in the world, and for my own mental sake, I bloody hope there's a heaven because they deserve a heaven. Like I say, the reason I consider a ghost an echo is because I believe that the soul goes somewhere. I think it does. I mean, whether that's heaven as we believe it, or if it's just even if we just absorb back into, I suppose, the great ether.
Right.
I just want to believe that for good people, there's got to be something better.
So you think the afterlife is just?
Say it again, sorry.
You think the afterlife is just?
I hope so. I don't know if I believe that. I don't. I think I might be sort of saying that to, I suppose, bring myself comfort. But yeah,
well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I like to believe that because I think if you are as selfless and as and as caring as the people I've known, I just hope that's there for them because they deserve that. Whether or not I believe I personally deserve that's a whole nother matter. But
right.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that there's something there for people. I mean, I know a lot of people suggest that the idea of with ghosts that it's limbo for those who weren't worthy of heaven, so they stay on Earth.
That seems kind of arbitrary.
Yeah. How so?
Well, if it's limbo, I mean limbo for what? Like what criterion didn't they meet? Is it a temporary thing? I mean, do ghosts go away? Yeah, I don't know. That seems like a weird thing, just because the broad spectrum of types of ghosts.
Okay,
Right.
well, let me put it this way: it's more they're stuck here because they couldn't let it go.
That
So
makes
do
a
you
little
think
more
they're
sense.
here for all the time, or do you think that eventually, once they learn to let it go, they pass on?
I believe the latter, but knowing the universe and how cruel it can be, probably it's the former. Yeah.
So, Bradshaw.
I'd say I'm probably in the same boat as Gray, where I want to believe, like I genuinely want to believe in an afterlife. I'm more inclined to believe there is such thing as a sort of a soul, because I don't necessarily believe that science can explain everything.
Right. Well, science is not the only way to understand the world.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a Christian. I don't believe in necessarily the Christian God, but I do believe that something sort of created the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
right there with you there.
I think something has to come from something. I don't.
I'm a firm believer in the great big something.
Yeah,
I
the
think
great
pretty
big
much all
something.
of us are.
The great big something in the sky. No,
Okay.
I'm not. I'm not saying anything bad about Christians. I'm just saying I'm not one. Like,
Well, we discussed this on episode 1 briefly. That I said that I think that there is that something, but I think it's long since abandoned us.
Okay. So kind of a deist perspective.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
one of
like
those. We got set up, and then whoever was in charge was like, "Phew." Like they left for a little bit, and they came back. And they're like, "Oh man, we let this go way too far."
a dad disowning his gay son.
Well, I think
Yeah,
he
someone
can...
sent him a copy of the gift, and he was like, "All right, bye."
Oh god. Well, I think you can sort of see it. If you even looking at the Christian, the Testaments. If you look at the Old Testament, God takes a much more active role than he does in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that the Old Testament and the New Testament were never meant to be paired together. I mean, I think
Hazzard,
that
can you get
throughout
louder?
the
Is it
Old
possible? I'm sorry to interrupt you, bro, but can you get louder?
Oh, all right. I think that the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament
Much better.
are two different entities. I think those two books were never meant to be paired together.
I agree, but in a different way. I believe that the God of the Old Testament was the God itself, and the New Testament is basically us trying to cope with being abandoned.
Oh, that's something. My personal belief is more along the lines of, when Christ says, I'm the path to salvation, he doesn't mean necessarily, if you don't believe in me, I and my Father are going to damn you in hell. It's, if you don't believe in me and use me as the path to salvation, I can't save you from that other thing.
Basically, yeah. I think that's probably the plainest way of putting it.
So we got off track a little bit. I just want to make sure, Bradshaw, so, and specifically in terms of afterlife, talking about Creator a little bit, but if you just want to give your last thoughts about the afterlife.
I've mentioned that I had a personal sort of unexplained experience. So, I do subscribe to the belief that there is like a fingerprint we leave behind. That we leave behind something. I don't know if we pass on to some kind of afterlife because I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
And that's kind of a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
So, Hazzard.
I definitely, like I said, I believe in the soul. I believe that there's more to a man than flesh and blood. I don't, like I've gone on before about, even if you take a look at it from just a purely scientific, material view of the world, at that point your brain's just a particular configuration of atoms, and what's been created once has been created along the entirety of the span of infinity. It will occur again in that particular configuration. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's just, lights out.
Johnny?
Well, having already said that I believe in the great big something, but I mean, I'm not willing to, stake everything on the old white-haired man up in the sky watching us do all of the things and, all that. I mean, I'm
the
like,
afterlife is going to the great big something.
It's the whole, okay. So energy can neither be created or destroyed. It merely changes, changes form, state or whatever form. Kind of that, like we get absorbed back into the universe, and the universe puts us where it needs us. And I don't know. I mean, I'm a big believer in the universe, like running shit, like the big pool of whatever with the tides ebbing and flowing and, all the energy coming and going and whatever. But I don't necessarily believe like that there's A, somebody directing it all, and B, somebody directing traffic after we're gone. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I mean, it's like we all get absorbed back into the primordial soup and, get spit back out as whatever the universe sees fit that needs to be.
So what about you, Adam?
Well, I guess I'm like pretty much a deist, I suppose. I definitely am hopeful for an afterlife because I think anybody who has lost a loved one is very hopeful about an afterlife.
Well, yeah. I mean, every kid wants to see their grandparents or whatever.
Go ahead.
Again, I said every kid wants to see whoever. You know what I mean? They lose somebody. They lose the dog, the grandparents, the whatever. They want to believe that there's something up there.
Right, and like I said, my father believed in heaven, and I mean that's what he taught me to believe, and I would never call myself like an atheist or anything like that, and so it doesn't seem far-fetched to me that there's an afterlife because if you believe in a soul, well, if it goes somewhere eventually, when the body is kaput, I hope that it's good and it's just, but it also might just be like a sleep. Like a
Well, see,
perfectly
that's,
content, permanent sleep.
Yeah, I like this. That's, I suppose if you're going to go with the lights out theory, that's probably the best way of doing it. But if I'm completely honest, it's funny you mentioned that, the soul that leaves your body. I mean, we were saying earlier that energy can't be created or destroyed, and I was saying earlier that I believe ghosts are essentially, echoes of things like. It could also be a memory. I mean, I consider a memory in itself its own form of energy. So that when the person dies, all of that built up, sort of, I suppose, stored data in your brain, that could be escaping.
Well, I mean, you go back to, if you're looking at that, you could look at, animus versus anima, the soul versus the energy of the body, Your soul goes on to wherever, but the energy of your body leaves behind an echo.
Yeah, basically.
You gotta stop saying echo. I just can't not make jokes.
Well, you guys were mentioning loved ones, and that actually reminded me of something from my childhood. Because when I was younger, I actually witnessed the stroke that killed my grandmother. She got rushed off into the ambulance, and they tried to revive her in the ambulance, but she was declared dead on arrival. And it was a couple weeks after that, we have I'll just describe what my parents' house has. We have a fireplace, we have a mantle above the fireplace, we have a huge mirror above that mantle, and in front of the mirror we have all the family photos and stuff like that and little picture frames. And one night I hear this crash, and I run out. I'm the first out there, and then everyone else in the house comes out, and we take a look, and the mirror had fallen off. And
oh wow!
All the photos were on the ground except for one picture frame, and that was a picture of my grandmother and my grandfather, who died when I was a lot younger. And looking back on it, maybe that was sort of her way of telling us that she is at peace with the man that she loved.
I have a similar experience, but okay, I don't think there's any way I can tell it without sounding completely insane, but I'm just going to come out with it anyway. As you guys know, I lost my wife in 2005. She lost a battle with leukemia. Pretty much died in my arms. It was pretty shitty at the time. So about a couple of months ago, I finally drummed up the courage to start dating again. And I was basically overcome with an incredible sort of sense of guilt initially. I was really should I be doing this? Am I insulting her memory by doing so? It's just something I sort of had to get my head around. And I remember at the time just feeling this incredible warmth come over me and a sense of comfort. It kind of felt like someone had the hand on my cheek. I believe that was her saying, "Look, it's okay, live your life." So,
right in the feels.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to bring us down, but
it's right in the feels.
The feels episode.
Wow.
That feel when you get kicked in the feels. Yeah, man. I mean,
thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Most recent Fatherland one, Bane's Trains and That Fucking Feel.
Yeah. But yeah,
right.
yeah. So that's I think experiences like that happen. I think part of that loved one. I mean, again, this is going back to what we started with when I was saying that people that the ghosts can attach themselves to objects and things. I believe that if you love someone enough, that part of you will always be attached to them, and I'm wondering if that's
I don't doubt
what
that
that
at
was.
all.
Well, as long as you knew her.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so don't want no strangers touching me, ghostly form.
The feelsiest episode yet.
Yeah.
All right, hey guys. Speaking of, so we're gonna take Gray on his start. Gray, you got a song for us this week?
I do, yes.
All right, sweet. So how about this?
No idea.
We'll keep it
I'll pick you one from the archive.
We'll keep it a surprise.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go take ourselves a little break with some.
Why don't we do Your Journey Begins at the End of the World?
Oh, it would be appropriate, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
We'll do that.
We'll do that one. We'll be back in a few.
wake of 1,000 days of thunder, in the wake of 1,000 sleepless nights. From the dirt you roll and you're all alone, but you know that she's out there somewhere. You feel her in your heart, you feel her in your soul. Don't you let her go, don't let her go. Your journey begins at the end of the world. Let her know, you need to let her know that she's the one that you always for. Don't you let her go, don't let her go. Your journey begins at the end of the world. You know you love her so, tell her you love her so. Through the burn of the constant acid rain, through the stain of the glass beneath your feet, through the dead you'll walk until you see her face, so determined to survive this hardship. With the power of love you'll ever strive. Don't you let her go, don't let her go. Your journey begins at the end of the world. Let her know, you need to let her know that she's the one that you always for. Don't you let her go, don't let her go. Your journey begins at the end of the world. You know you love her so, tell her you love her so. Don't you let her go, don't let her go. Your journey begins at the end of the world. Let her know, you need to let her know that she's the one that you always for. Don't you let her go, don't let her go. Your journey begins at the end of the world. You know you love her so, tell her you love her so.
And we're back. What's happening, everybody? I'm Johnny Monoxide with the Paranormies, Adam Haidt, Hazzard McRee, Greyfield Stray, and Bradshaw. We're talking about ghosts tonight. So let's get back into some ghosty spoopy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'd like to bring, lovely. What I'd like to bring up at this point is the Tower of London. The Tower of London is one of Britain's most haunted sites. I think there was something like 80 recognised ghosts there, roughly.
80? Weren't there hundreds of people executed there?
There may have been some executions. Mistakes were
100,
made.
120 executions.
Heads were lost. The thing with the Tower of London is it was largely used as a prison for, I suppose, the equivalent of political prisoners back in the day. Anyone who sort of really opposed the royals or basically was of noble birth, because your general rule of thumb was in execution, you were only beheaded if you were rich enough to be beheaded. Otherwise, you were just hung. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, beheading was the method of execution for nobility, right?
Indeed, yeah. I think even to an extent that was carried on across most of Europe. I think that only really changed once the French Revolution came about.
Why is that?
Indiscriminately using the guillotine.
Why is that?
Why?
No.
I don't know. I think it's
more dignified.
Yeah, I suppose. I think there's just an element of showmanship about it. It's like, haha, I have lots of money. Watch me get killed in an over elaborate way. Yeah, which is, that's the thing with royalty.
Signal high status with your death.
Say again, sorry?
Signal high status with your death.
Yeah, essentially, right from the top to the beginning. But yeah, no. There's actually one. Here it is. Margaret Pole. Okay, she basically refused to kneel before the executioner, so she was actually chased around the area and hacked to death.
Holy shit!
God.
And her ghost apparently repeats this scene.
Oh my god! Can you imagine?
So it's just her running around
the rest of eternity.
Just hacking some woman to death in the middle of a square.
Could you imagine being a beefeater on duty and seeing that?
Oh, dude, I'd quit.
I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, you've got to remember, the beefeaters in London these days are largely symbolic. They belong to the tourist board. There's very few people that actually run and maintain the Tower of London itself. It's, like I say, it's run by the London Tourist Authority. So I think they've got, like, basic caretakers, and then they just hire people to play beefeaters.
A what? A beefeater?
A beefeater. It's I suppose it's
the red and black guards.
Yeah, they're the royal guard of the past.
Yeah, I know them because they're on Beefeater Gin, and I'm an alcoholic.
God damn it!
Yeah.
To be fair, there's also like beefeater restaurants as well. They're pretty well known over here. But yeah, no, I mean that's just one of many. I mean, you've got the princes in the tower. I mean, have you guys ever read Richard III or know anything about the Wars of the Roses?
No, fill us in.
Okay, so just before the Tudor bloodline took over the rule of the country, the rule of England was up in the air, and it was between two houses, the House of York and the House of Lancaster. The House of York was largely ruled by the Plantagenets, and then you had the Tudors, which were largely the House of Lancaster. Obviously, the Lancastrians won. Henry Tudor killed Richard at Bosworth Field and became King of England. However, during his rule as Richard III, he basically killed a lot of his political opposition, two of them being two princes, two young princes, who were I believe they were the sons of his late brother, who was the previous king. So technically, they outranked him. So what he did was he had them imprisoned in the tower for what he said was their own protection. And it is believed that he paid somebody to smother them in the night. Apparently, their ghosts
or smuggle.
Smother.
Kill them. To kill them.
And their ghosts can be seen apparently in the tower crying and kneeling in the corner of rooms. They're actually the most frequently seen of the bunch.
Jesus.
Another ghost that can be seen in the Tower of London is the ghost of Anne Boleyn.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Anne Boleyn was
Tell us
the
about that one.
second wife of Henry VIII.
That is correct.
She was tried and executed for treason. Although, if you've ever heard the story of Henry VIII, it probably wasn't treason. He just killed his wives. Yeah, he got bored. He wanted a son.
The rhyme goes: divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. That's how his 6 wives go.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anne was a bit of a unique case in that she was literally pushed. She was basically, she wasn't particularly liked within Henry's court. She had a lot of political opposition. He'd already met Jane Seymour at this point, from what I hear. And essentially, he wanted rid of her. So they basically concocted a reason. There's a lot of theories that she was framed for supposed treason and was executed, as opposed to, say, Catherine Parr, the second executed wife. Now, Henry genuinely loved, apparently. And when knowledge of her affairs became public, he was said to have drawn his sword and actually said, "I will kill her myself." He was devastated.
Oh,
Yeah, so yet nobody has ever claimed to see Catherine Parr's ghost. Ever.
maybe she didn't linger because she knew she screwed up.
Maybe so. The funny part is, a bit of a funny story, while Anne Boleyn was being beheaded, Henry wasn't even in attendance. He was playing tennis at the time.
Wow.
Fucking
Dude,
3D PD blown
that's,
out.
That's just
Not even a real sport.
It's insane.
Like hunting.
She was
I'm gonna go
actually
play tennis.
Right?
the theory that she was framed is pretty popular. Like, she was declared a martyr when her daughter became queen.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think another famous one, I don't know if you guys heard this, but this is one that we get told of mostly, is the Grey Lady. She's supposed to haunt the Queen's Tower. Basically, she only makes her presence known to women.
Interesting.
Okay.
You don't hear him? Of course you don't fucking hear him. You're a guy. Why would you hear him? Sorry. That's just what
No,
that sound like.
we could have
if
hit.
it
We
was
just weren't
here.
listening.
What? Yeah. Guys aren't listening.
You think she shows up for trannies?
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's a good question.
That is a very good question. I don't think I can answer that. I'd hope not. I suppose.
I wonder if she shows up for trad wives.
Fuck off.
Brad's gonna get
Who
mad.
doesn't show up for trad rides?
Stop it. We're gonna get yelled at for shit posting, you guys.
Oh god. Oh,
You guys,
God.
we're gonna get the Spurgs are gonna be all like, you know, you guys just shit post and blah blah blah. Hey, every now and then,
An hour. Come on.
it's
We
yeah.
don't just shit post. We do some serious posts.
Yeah.
This has been a great episode so far.
This has been.
So speaking of haunted Brit bong places and Henry VIII, one really interesting video you can look up if you're into the whole, paranormal investigator, like we got this picture of this like speck of dust that floats across the camera,
Right.
is CCTV footage from Hampton Court Palace, which was a home of Henry VIII and is supposedly haunted. It's one of the doors was open, like was swung open, and it was a fire escape. And the alarm was going off, and you can see this figure wearing a robe, completely visible, just a figure wearing a robe, shut both the doors. And when the staff of Hampton Court went over to see the door where the alarm was, they found the door was already closed.
Do you know what that was? That was the ghost of sensible health and safety.
That's so British.
This is actually an
know, right?
actual office occupied by a human being in England. It's not a joke. It's an actual thing. Like,
It is, yeah.
yeah.
Well, so, it's kind of gone mad.
Safety.
The Department of
Well,
Homeland Safetyness.
Yeah, basically,
Yep.
health and safety in this country used to be just, don't be a twat. Now it's like, we're not going to let you be a twat, we're going to treat you like children.
Right.
It's gone insane. I don't really.
Do you
like
have
it.
identification
It
to
just
purchase
ruins
that?
the workplace. And I can't even put kids in the machines anymore. It's ridiculous. But no, stories about haunted places in Britain. One that I think you might like. I'm going to actually reference a name of a town which was used by H.P. Lovecraft, Dunwich. Some of you may have read the Dunwich Horror.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real place, or it was a real place, rather.
During World War II?
Pretty much. It used to be the site of one of our main airstrips during World War II and was pretty much bombed to shit.
Yeah, it was
there's
turned
very
into
little
a hole in the ground.
It's considered a ghost town now because it's just basically a ruined cathedral and a bunch of other archaeological sites. But there's a folklore tale there known as the Dark Heart of Dunwich.
Wow.
So apparently it originates in the 12th century. The legend tells of how Eva, a Dunwich maiden, she was due to be married to a son of a local landowner. She fell instead for a good-looking local cad, as the story tells it. I love that word. Any excuse to say the word cad. He basically had his way with her. He basically one night stand, and then buggered off. She waited in vain for her lost love to return. She then cut out her heart and hurled it into the sea. However, according to the legend, she was unable to die and still haunts the area, particularly around the constantly shifting beach where the land meets the sea. The heart itself, believed to be similar in appearance to a wooden heart, is believed to wash up occasionally and bring great misfortune to anyone who picks it up and keeps it.
Wow.
So even in death, women aren't worth it.
Huh.
Damn right.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, that's a very common tale, though. The idea of the phantom lady waiting for her lost love.
Yeah, no, that's where the entire idea of a widow's walk, the little balcony,
Right.
on like sort of beachside homes.
Yeah. To go wait for your husband to come back.
The widow's watch, the widow's walk.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, they didn't always come home.
I will admit, though, there's part of me that loves the idea that, I mean, it might just be my inner goth coming out here, but I just freaking love the idea of a love so powerful that it binds you to this world. I think that's absolutely beautiful. And so, moving away from the UK, have you guys heard of the Ghosts of Chernobyl?
Oh,
Ew.
this is gonna be a good one.
I'm big on nuclear stuff, but I go more for how the stuff went wrong, not the after effects.
Right. So I'm assuming everyone here knows about the Chernobyl disaster.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should I explain it for our audience?
Just
or-
give a super brief background.
Basically, Ukrainians fucked up and a reactor blew up.
Yeah, basically, and to shield for nuclear like I have to, because, I'm a spark for nuclear, it wasn't actually the reactor, it's the fact that you have to, when you shut down a reactor, you can't immediately start it back up. There's certain isotopes that build up, you have to wait for them to decay, otherwise they act as neutron absorbers. So they didn't do that, they started it back up like 3 hours after shutting it down instead of waiting the full 18 hours. So they kept pulling the control rods out further and further because they had all of these neutron absorbers in the reactor core. And then all of a sudden, they had the control rods out way too far. No more neutron absorbers. Mm-hmm. It went exponential and then boom. Because stupid Ukrainians.
So what you're saying is communism happened.
Yeah, communism happened.
Well, sort of. What they did was they
TLDR,
qualified
communism
people in
sucks.
Positions of great stress, essentially.
Right,
So
right.
what
So
you're
there was a
saying is
nuclear disaster.
communism happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the
always
ghost
have
story here?
Okay, so Ukraine is it's a area of former Soviet Union, but supposedly the area around Chernobyl, there's like fairgrounds and playgrounds and stuff where apparently you can hear crying and laughter of children.
Like in Pripyat?
Very similar to Pripyat, actually. Very similar to Pripyat ghosts. I'm sure I didn't think you'd heard that story.
Well, it's the same place.
Oh, is it? I didn't realize that. I thought they were two
Yeah,
separate.
Chernobyl was in Pripyat.
Oh, okay. I did not know. My geography is awful, so I apologize. But
That's
yeah,
it's my stalker autism.
okay. I've never played the Stalker games. I only know the memes.
Good.
Get out of here.
Anyway.
Ah, cheeky breaky, my friend.
Cheeky breaky indeed. But yeah, you can hear the cries and the laughter of disembodied children. Supposedly at night you can see the ghosts of people walking around, essentially going about their daily lives as if the whole thing had never happened.
I could definitely see that because not only was the disaster, an enormous series of catastrophic mistakes that could have been avoided, but the Soviet Union didn't want the bad press from it, so they just didn't tell anybody. And in fact, the European Union didn't find out until Finland or Norway or whatever detected unusually high amounts of radiation in the environment and started calling around.
Yeah.
And they had a festival right next to the ground zero and just exposed entire generations of people to huge amounts of radiation without telling them about it. A lot of the workers that were involved, the miners that they had digging out stuff to get ready to put the concrete sarcophagus in, they weren't told about the gravity, the magnitude of the danger they were in, and so they were all exposed to lethal doses of radiation. And I could see there'd be a lot of really pissed off ghosts, especially considering how angry Slavs already are.
Yeah. Well, there was one worker there was one guy, a radiologist that went in there. There was some slag that was so radioactive that touching it could kill you.
Well, I think the elephant's foot was there, right?
Is that what it is, that pile of slag?
Yeah, the elephant's foot, and that thing is so radioactive that they didn't touch it. The guy just took a picture and then died.
No, there was one guy that kept going into the site and he absorbed hundreds of times a lethal dose, and he was just completely fine. It was just what the hell, dude?
I haven't heard about that one. I do, yeah. The elephant's foot was at the Chernobyl disaster, is basically just a pile of corium, apparently.
Okay. Well, one thing I have heard of, and I'm going to post an image in the chat, which feel free to use as the overlay, is the Mothman or Black Crow of Chernobyl. Whoa. Now, investigators into the Chernobyl disaster have suggested the appearance of a creature that is supposedly a omen of disasters to come in the area where it shows itself. The description of it is a large black winged creature. And basically it's known as the bird of Chernobyl or the Mothman, and they're both very similar in description, depending on who you ask.
Well, I know there's reports of Mothman as an omen of disaster. That's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, apparently the reports of the imaging were followed by reports of nightmares and threatening phone calls leading up to the disasters that are shared in both cases.
So basically, before?
Supposedly, apparently they've not been cited since their respective disasters, but apparently they were. This all happened before the Chernobyl disaster happened.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
There's a. What? Sorry.
I said,
Hazzard.
Call me spooked.
Oh yeah, definitely spooked. There's a account by a nuclear physicist called Andrei. I'm going to try and pronounce this. Karzakov. He visited the site in '97. I arrived at the abandoned power station at 7:30 a.m. I proceeded directly to Reactor 4 sarcophagus where the explosion took place. I could not enter due to radiation. I stood by the entrance leaking radiation and Roentgen readings. And took Roentgen readings. They didn't put the word took. I know no one could be inside the old reactor core, but I could very distinctly hear the sound of someone screaming for help, shouting that there was a fire inside. I ran upstairs to tell someone, but they said that when I entered the reactor control room, I was the first person to open the door. The only way to get inside the old reactor is through the doors I came in through. If someone had gone inside the reactor when I was not looking, they would have tripped an alarm that goes off when the reactor door is open mechanically. The reactor door requires a password and a handprint, yet someone or something was inside. Later that evening, we were eating dinner outside the building by the river next to the plant. A floodlight turned on in the room of the installation. There was no way anyone could be inside. As we ate, we figured there must be a power surge or something. Then, just as my colleague said that, the light turned off.
That is fucking spooky.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. And it extends further. If you look at the hospital that the victims were carted to, they claim that they're seeing apparitions and hearing voices from there because it's now abandoned. The hospital itself is just a ruin.
Man, there must have been a lot of ghosts created during that accident.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
insane.
I mean, how
It was
many?
more long-term stuff than immediate deaths, but I mean, you got to think about, what we're talking about, leaving an echo on the places that impacted you most throughout your life. I mean, even if, I mean, just think if you died of cancer from the Chernobyl accident years later, what would have had the most impact on your life? Being suddenly torn and uprooted for your home of however many years, and being given a disease that would eventually kill you. Where do you think your ghost would go?
The other question is, and I'm going for a scientific point of view, so I want to bring you in on this one, Adam. The distribution of energy, which we were talking about earlier, and how energy cannot be destroyed or created, and how that may lead to the formation of ghosts, if we consider them a physical manifestation as opposed to like I say, an echo. Would that energy not get spread over an extremely large area, considering the explosion?
Well, I mean, there's entropic effects. I mean, I think Hazzard could speak on this a little bit too, just in regards to like the way that. Oh gosh, I'm gonna super autistic, but like.
I mean, I'm no expert, but I must imagine that a nuclear explosion of any kind produces creates a surge of a lot of energy, surely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't actually a nuclear detonation. What happened was containment failed because, like I was saying, all of a sudden they pulled the reactor control rods out way too far. Then all of a sudden the neutron absorbers had all absorbed enough neutrons. They had an uncontrolled reaction, which basically vaporized all the water they have, because when you have a nuclear reactor, what you're doing is you're using water to cool it down, which the water evaporates into steam, which drives turbines, is recondensed, and then goes back through the cooling system again. That's how it actually generates power. It turns water into steam, which drives turbines. But the problem is, it heated up so suddenly, so quickly, it was evaporating way too much water, way too quickly. The pressure was building, and then it blew. So you had the reason it wasn't an actual nuclear detonation, but the problem you have is you all of a sudden have this massive steam explosion that's been caused by water being heated up by like thousands of degrees Kelvin almost instantaneously. We're talking a massive amount of heat almost instantly, rupturing containment and just spraying fucking fissile nuclear material all over the place.
Yeah, it was a big watery nuclear mess.
Yeah, because just the force at which it blew the containment, it breached the reactor and all the safeties. It was a steam explosion that just sprayed radioactive material all over the place.
I wonder if radiation causes a special, like a more potent type of ghost, especially if we take like what we talked about from the Bohemian Grove episode about how it was actually like a portal to let demons through.
Right.
Could be that, I don't know, like radioactive accidents have a particular metaphysical like evil about them.
Yeah. If I may segue then, going from, because we're talking about nuclear things, let's go to another nuclear disaster. Let's go to Japan and Fukushima. Obviously, that one's a lot more under control than Chernobyl was. I'm basically just using this as a segue to get to Japan because I want to talk about Onryo, which is Onryo, which are the Japanese belief in vengeful spirits. Now, the main reason I bring this up is I want to get your opinion on the idea of, I suppose, spiritual hatred. I suppose the idea of
like against spiritual Semites.
Don't be silly. Everyone knows that Semites just evaporate. They have no soul.
That's why they don't leave behind bones or ash or any other evidence.
Right?
but what's your opinion on the idea of a vengeful spirit? I mean, would you believe that there are such things as violent hauntings?
I don't see how it's different from the regular ghost echoes, where now it's just someone who's like crazy pissed off, and their spirit is their echo left behind is trying to break shit and hurt people.
Well, the reason I bring Japan up is with them they have so many sort of cultural stories. Like, have you ever heard of the Scissor Woman?
Yes.
The what?
Yeah. Do you want to tell the tale, Hazzard?
Wait, a
It's been a
Japanese
long time since
scissor
I've read
woman?
it.
The Scissor Woman?
The
I
Scissor
think
Woman.
I've watched a video like that.
I think what you watched, Adam, is a little
damn
bit
it.
different than what they're talking about, though.
Yeah, Brad's just
Oh.
pissed because there's not a penis involved.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Are we doing that again? Are we doing that
am
one
I
again?
telling a story, or
Yeah,
or are
you
you
tell
telling
the
how?
story.
Okay, right. So, in Japanese mythology, there is the vengeful spirit of a woman who she essentially wanders the streets, and she will go up to people and ask you the question. She will ask you, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" If you say no, she will kill you with scissors.
She wears
if
a
you-
mask as well.
Yeah, she does. She always wears a mask.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I did miss that bit of the say. So she wears a mask. She reveals her face. Then she asks the question. If you say no, she kills you with scissors. If you say yes, she will also kill you with scissors. But she'll like carve your face up to look like hers. The only way to get rid of her is to basically wave her off and pretend you're busy, because although she's a vengeful spirit, she's not rude.
What?
Oh,
It's just this. I don't get it.
Oh my god.
To be fair,
Japanese
Japanese
are
ones are
weird,
weird.
man.
They really
Oh
are.
no.
Yeah, no.
so
There's
much
some
to
sort
talk
of.
about
There's still
Japanese
some sort of
spirits,
manners involved. Like it's gonna kill you.
Japanese spirits alone would be an entire episode.
Yeah, no, that would be a great subject to talk about. Like
I'd love to do
Snow-
one about the well lady. That was probably my
have
favorite one.
you guys know about what is it? What are they called? Snow women?
It'd be awesome to
Japanese
do another
spirits
whole
that,
episode of shit I don't know
Yukiona.
anything about.
Yeah, Yukiona. Yes,
cool.
where when men are lost in the cold, they get pulled into their embrace because they feel like it will warm them, and it actually just freezes.
oh, it's like a
them and kills them.
siren.
Yeah,
Not quite like a siren.
similar to a siren.
Yeah, kind of. They're like they're supposed to be like the ghosts of women who died of exposure to the cold, and they lure them into their embrace looking for warmth.
That's correct.
Oh, that sounds like a really
Like a
fun
Yeti.
episode.
I
Sounds
mean,
like a-
it sounds like just typical woman behavior, but
Yeah, right.
Right.
Thought genocide.
thought genocide.
Stop it.
There was a really funny one actually. It turned up as a boss in a Nintendo game. There was a famous woman who was essentially I think she was like framed for stealing plates or something like that. So they incarcerated her or drowned her in a well, and then the local well, basically where she was drowned, started throwing plates at people.
The well started throwing plates.
Yeah, literally, plates started flying out the window at people who passed by. And there's a Nintendo game called Monster Party where they actually use this as a boss.
I know Monster Party.
Well, now you have an explanation for the well boss that nobody.
I understand. It makes
It's, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I think you could probably do an entire episode on Japanese urban legends. They've got
It's-
so many.
they're so fascinating too, just because of how different they are from our own legends.
Oh, indeed.
But
You,
Yeah,
can,
like,
you can also
threads
draw
is the
certain.
Yeah, you can see threads of the same truth running
Yeah.
through.
There are parallels there, like our sirens and the Yukiona. They both lure men to their deaths.
Yeah.
True.
Then you have you take a look at the stories of the Fae or the Sidhe if you're going into Ireland, and them luring men and men finding that they go spend the night or go spend some time with these beautiful women, and all of a sudden they wake up and years have passed. And then you look at the Japanese legends of Kitsune.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy, I know where this is
And-
going.
Yeah, and
Oh, no, I'm just saying, beautiful Fae spirits, and all of a sudden time's gone.
Oh,
You just get
Basically,
wrapped.
I think the lesson we need to learn here is that maybe we shouldn't be putting our penises in the paranormal.
Maybe you shouldn't touch Fluffy Tail.
Touch
Definitely
Fluffy
don't touch Fluffy Tail.
you guys need to stop it right now. Stop it.
Sorry, Dad.
No, I'm just no.
somebody
Sorry,
say
Dad.
weeaboo?
Just
I'm just glad we got it out of the way because I think Hazzard's been.
I was
itching.
being serious. I wasn't trying to meme about monster girls. I'm actually drawing parallels between the Fae and the Japanese fox spirits and stuff like that.
Fair enough. No, that's understandable. I mean, Ireland again is
Foxkin are real.
another country with so many legends. You
Oh,
know what I mean,
yeah, that'd be an episode in and of itself. I mean,
say things like the Banshees. You know,
Yeah, we
the
can
thing
do
that
that.
I
Cool,
always
the
found
giants.
fascinating about Ireland's mythology, especially the Fae, is you the She, you have the Seelie court and you have the Unseelie court, but neither one of them are necessarily good or evil. It's summer and winter. There's some good and some evil in both of them. There's some kindness and some cruelty in both of them. It's very interesting.
funny enough, to round the whole discussion off, the most common form of, I suppose, evidence of hauntings has usually been EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. This is where recorders are placed down, generally analog because they seem to pick it up better.
Yeah, because of the magnetic tape, you get EMF fluctuations.
Exactly. So the amount of times when recorders have been put down and just disembodied voice has been heard. So I mean, if you're looking at concrete evidence, that seems to be the way to go at the moment.
Concrete
I thought
evidence
that,
of ghosts.
Have you ever experienced that?
Electronic voice phenomenon? Yes, once.
Oh, that sounds like a story.
It is, and actually, I'm a bit disappointed because I actually wanted to find the tape that I had it recorded on and actually have it in time of episode. I can't find it; it's long gone. Basically, oh God, it must have been about 2003. I'm gonna say. My old band did a gig in St Albans, and there's a pub down that way, which I think is called the Green Man. Anyway, at the bottom of the pub itself is a recording studio, and we decided to take advantage of it pre-gig and just do a few recordings there. And then we actually had on one of the tapes, you can distinctly hear between sets there's a sound of a woman crying.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
Damn, that
It only lasts for a couple of seconds, but it's pretty.
But you can actually hear it though.
Sorry, say that again, John.
I said you can actually hear it.
You can actually hear it. Yeah, it's very
Oh, wow.
fuzzy, but it definitely sounds like it.
That's pretty
I'm
crazy.
guessing there weren't any women crying very loudly during the show.
Not that I am aware of. I mean, we weren't great, but we weren't that bad. Yeah, I know. I'm just a little bit disappointed because obviously I can't produce this, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it, I guess.
Oh, if only you could, because that'd be a great little, you know how artists put a lot of skits and stuff like that, stuff to break up the music in their own albums?
Yeah,
I just
Yeah, you could do
isolating
that with that. Yeah.
for your-
I was.
for your
That's
album
what I was
would be
thinking of
so
more than anything.
cool. Yeah.
Because I've just started work on my third album, and I'd quite like to have it as part of one of the songs, but I can't find it. So
Album number 3.
number 3
What's the title for number 3 gonna be?
doesn't have a title yet. I probably won't until I've got a couple of songs down and got a feel for it. To be honest.
You should cover. Oh, never mind. No,
No, go on. Say it. I always get this.
we need to minimize the shit posting.
No,
Yeah.
shitposting must go on.
No, never mind. There's better things to talk about.
Are you actually shit posting, or do you have like a serious recommendation?
No, I didn't.
Oh, for Christ's sake, you guys. All right. So we're like way off topic of ghosts. We're gonna get yelled
Yeah,
at for.
how did we
for-
get here?
Yeah, how did that happen? Gee, I don't know.
I need to be doing my job better.
I was
Yeah.
about to say.
It's all good.
Slacking.
Does anybody have any
No,
good?
Anybody have
Maybe
so
we'll have what we might have Graw on for a few episodes, and then after that, your your game will have been stepped up sufficiently.
Yeah,
We-
it'll be
oh,
Super
oh,
Saiyan
having Grok,
Tism
yeah.
Wrangler. Gray, you shared a couple brief ghost stories.
Mhm.
Brad, I know you have that one. Does anybody else have any ghost stories?
I did mine already. I did
Yeah,
my
I think we
spooky
all
Navy ghost
put it up
story.
there.
Okay.
I told mine in the introductory episode about going out.
Yes, but nobody could hear it because your mic was absolutely horrendous. I wanted to tell it again.
Oh, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah,
again.
Hazzard, go ahead and
I
tell
was
your
down-
story again, dude.
Huh?
Go ahead and tell your story again, dude.
Yeah, I was down on Galveston Island with 2 other friends, and we were just screwing around. We were 17, 16 years old. Just young, messing around. And all of a sudden, one of us just starts walking off towards the beach. And he won't say a thing. He won't respond to anything. So we follow him. And he starts trudging out onto the beach. And I remember very clearly because it's middle of the night. The old saying, nothing good comes after midnight. Well, none of us ever paid any heed to that saying. But he starts going out and he gets into the water. And he gets a couple of feet into the water and he collapses. So we rush in and we pull him up, get him out of the water, get his head above. It wasn't deep water, but he just collapsed like a puppet whose strings had been cut. And I remember very clearly because, tide had just gone out. Starlight and moonlight shining down, clean swept sand, everything. Because I'm looking around because, I tend to be paranoid and I don't want to be alone on the beach at night. So he gets up and he starts telling us this story about a sailor, 100 or so years ago. And he tells a story about a sailor who went off to sea leaving his fiancée behind. And the sailor's ship was lost and all hands were reported lost. And the fiancée killed herself. And afterwards, the sailor who had survived the wreck came back, found that his fiancée had killed herself, and he just walked out into the sea and drowned himself. And so I figure at this point that, it's just my friend screwing with us, ghost story, it's the middle of the night. But as we turn and we start heading back, I'm taking a look, and I'm looking at the sand, because, it'd been swept clean. So if there were anybody else around, there'd have been footprints. And there's 4 sets of footprints along the path that we had gone along. And that's all there is.
But there was 3 of you, right?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's weird.
I mean, I don't know if he got... I think he got possessed by something. But
Possession's an interesting...
Super creepy, dude.
Interesting one.
Yeah.
I must say, but I would argue that possession is more associated with the idea of demons than ghosts, unless
Yeah.
unless your friend was maybe a medium.
I don't know.
That was another thing that should have been brought up when we were talking about the different kinds of ghosts. Is that the theory of demonology?
Oh? What about it?
We talked about that already.
Oh no,
on
that's that.
one.
I'm not an expert in it. I was just saying that is something that could definitely be delved into. The entire idea of demons and the.
Well, we brought up
ones that have.
demonology on one of the earlier episodes. We'll talk about it again.
Yeah, but I mean, actually getting into even deeper into it.
I mean, certain people have a long and sordid history with demonology. I mean, look back at Saul.
Right?
Saul and Solomon.
You could say, right. Oh, Solomon, yeah. He was a fucking wizard. But that's a whole other episode.
So we've all.
One of these days, somebody's going to make a counter for the number of times we've said, but that's another episode.
Well, yeah.
If you say that, take a shot. New drinking game.
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't drink anymore, and let's not fuel Bradshaw's descent into alcoholism.
Right.
That was
Descent?
aimed at the listeners actually more than you lot. But
At the who?
It was aimed at the listeners rather than you. Like, oh, yeah, no, fair
Yeah,
enough.
me. I'm your one
Hey,
fan.
we just recently had a thread on the TRS forums that within 6 hours got like 80 replies.
What, ours?
Yeah.
What? When?
Not the specific Paranormies thread, but a thread that started with the mention of us and then talked about some stuff that we.
Well, yeah, no, they called us. What they call us? Fucking LARPers.
No. That we weren't getting called LARPers.
Oh, I thought
Unless
for
there's,
some
like,
reason
another
there was
thread.
one that called us the, ancient Aryans, Paranormies are LARPing as conspiracy guys or some shit. I don't know. I saw something.
I don't.
I
We
think
did
the
this
best
because
thread I
it
saw.
It was just some Spurglord. Like,
Spurgs, listen to our stuff.
There was a fantastic coincidence, actually. There's a
Wait, a
fellow.
coincidence or a coincidence?
One of our listeners actually goes by the name Grey, as in just the colour with an A. And he mentioned that I mentioned binaural beats on a previous episode. He has a YouTube channel filled with binaural beats stuff.
So a guy named Gray has
Or at least he
binaural
posted
beats.
one,
Weird.
So, yeah. So if he's listening, I didn't try and steal your thunder, but, you know, if I did, deal with it.
Oh, wow. Right?
Cheers.
Right on, guys. Well, this
Seriously,
was
you're a great
fun.
guy.
We had a fun evening.
It was good. I had a good time.
Ghosts and other stuff. Well, right on, guys. All right, so one more time. I'm going to see if I can get it right. We got a Twitter, and it's @the_Paranormies. And the Gmail is paranormiespresent@gmail.com.
Yep.
That's right. All right. Well,
yeah, we'll have a link to Bradshaw's channel and Greyfield's music and all that stuff in the description.
Bradshaw is Bradshaw's Creepy Compendium.
Yes,
Right,
Bradshaw's
and-
Creepy Compendium on YouTube.
And Gray, you are the Greyfield
I'm
Stray
the
on
Greyfield
SoundCloud?
Stray.
One more time?
The Greyfield Stray, both on YouTube and on Bandcamp.
Right on. All right, everybody. For this week and the Paranormies, I'm Johnny Monoxide. For Adam Haidt, Hazzard, McRee, Greyfield Stray, and Bradshaw, we'll see you next time. We're going to take you out with another creepypasta. See you next time.
I love you.
God damn it.
I like it.
It is estimated at any given moment, somewhere between 5 and 10% of what is in your field of sight is shadow, darkness, isolation, the unknown. Imagine how it would be to live in these stagnated, dreary parts, in that crevice between the bookshelf and the wall, that gap between the wardrobe and the floor. To live surrounded by a crushing, overwhelming sense of darkness and nothingness. To know that is your place and always will be. To be left alone, unable to escape. No companionship but your blackest thoughts. Would the darkness consume you? Or would you search for a way out, to somehow live in the brightness? No wonder, when I lie in bed awake at night, the house begins to creak and starts to come to life. No wonder that in this dark time I feel the presence of eyes scouring over me. No wonder we hear so many stories of those who die in their sleep. For this time, the unknown rules all. And I don't think the light of your monitor is enough to keep away that thing that just moved by your right foot.